Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to take the world's most compelling research, cut through all the noise, and give you the precise, actionable knowledge blueprint you really need.
And today, we are undertaking a deep dive into strategic defense against what is arguably the single biggest annual adversary for many of us, winter.
Yeah, winter. We often just think of it as, an inconvenience, right?
Yeah.
Colder weather, shorter days, maybe more sniffles.
But the comprehensive winter wellness report we're analyzing today shows it's much more than that. It's a true systemic challenge. We face physiological hurdles from, significantly weakened immune resilience.
Making us more vulnerable to coughs and colds, that sort of thing.
Exactly. Respiratory infections spike. But it goes further, all the way to profound neurochemical disturbances like seasonal affective disorder, or SAD. It affects mood, energy.
And these challenges, they get amplified exponentially for anyone living in northern latitudes, where the sun basically just vanishes for months.
Precisely. So our mission today is to create a really rigorous, evidence-based blueprint for optimizing your health during this cold season.
We're distilling some pretty complex nutritional science into two core, non-negotiable pillars for robust winter health.
That blueprint really requires two specific actions. First, establishing the foundational diet, we'll focus intensely on how we cultivate that gut-mediated immunity. Super important.
Okay, foundational diet. Got it. And second,
identifying and implementing the single most critical nutrient intervention required when that solar exposure basically disappears.
so this is about precision, knowing exactly what to prioritize.
And just as importantly, knowing what high-risk supplements to strictly manage or, frankly, avoid altogether. There are dangers there.
Okay, so if you're looking for the absolute shortcut to being well-informed and, more importantly, staying well this winter, you are definitely in the right place.
We promise actionable takeaways and, honestly, some genuinely surprising facts, especially about your freezer aisle. Might change your whole strategy.
It might. Now, before we unpack all the science, if you value having complex knowledge synthesized and handed to you with clarity and depth, please do us a favor and hit that subscribe button right now.
Yeah, you really won't want to miss what we've uncovered in this deep dive and future ones.
All right, let's unpack the first pillar. What's actually on the plate? We tend to associate, nutrient density with summer berries and fall harvests.
Right, the bright, colorful stuff.
Exactly. But the sources we looked at make it really clear that optimal winter health actually starts by embracing seasonal, cold weather foods.
These are nature's cold weather pharmacy, basically. They seem engineered to provide not just deep immune support, but also that crucial slow-release energy to combat winter sluggishness.
That's the core idea, isn't it? These powerhouses you mentioned, roots, gourds, brassicas, they're resilient plants.
They are. They're designed by nature to survive harsh conditions, and in doing so, they pack these dense concentrations of essential nutrients, fiber, and really potent antioxidants.
Okay, give us some deeper insight then. What specific nutritional compounds are we really getting by prioritizing these seasonal staples? Let's start with roots.
Okay, roots. Take carrots. They're a fantastic source of beta-carotene, which, as most people know, is a key precursor to vitamin A, crucial for vision, immunity.
But there's more, right?
Oh, yeah. They also offer vitamin B6, which is critical for brain health, potassium for blood pressure regulation, and even biotin, which helps with metabolic function.
And beets. I feel like beets are having a moment.
They should be. They're arguably even more robust in some ways. Low-calorie superfoods, absolutely packed with essential nutrients, notably folate, vital for cell division, and these things called inorganic nitrates.
Nitrates, aren't those bad?
Not these ones. These actually improve blood flow. So beets deliver this dense nutrition very efficiently.
Good to know. Now, I find winter forces us to appreciate the gourds and squash more, things we might just walk past the rest of the year.
And you definitely shouldn't walk past them. Butternut and acorn squash, particularly, are prized for their density of complex carbohydrates. That's where you get that long, slow-release energy we talked about.
Keeps you going on those dark afternoons.
Exactly. But maybe more importantly, they are concentrated sources of beta-carotene again, which, remember, our body converts to the active form of vitamin A.
And vitamin A is key for, what was it again?
It's crucial for the integrity of our mucosal linings, think nose, throat, lungs. Those linings are the first physical barrier against respiratory pathogens. So strong linings, better defense.
Right. Makes sense. Okay, moving beyond roots and gourds. The brassica family, the cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, kale.
Yes. often touted as essential immune defenders, and the sources really back that up, getting into some advanced chemistry.
Okay, so what's the deep dive here? Broccoli, for example.
Well, broccoli is obviously rich in vitamin C, K, and A standard stuff, but its true power, arguably, lies in its unique compounds. It contains high levels of glucosinolates.
Glucosinolates, okay.
When you chop or chew broccoli, these convert into potent bioactive compounds like sulforaphane.
Sulforaphane, I've heard of that. It's supposed to be really good for you.
It is. It's a heavy hitter. A powerful antioxidant, supports detoxification pathways, protects cells from free radical damage. It's heavily documented for supporting eye health, heart health, and promoting digestive regularity, too.
Oh, okay, so doing a lot.
A lot. And things like kale and collards also provide robust immune-supporting vitamin C and K, often in even higher concentrations than some fruits.
That really reframes these vegetables, doesn't it? Not just vitamins, but like delivery systems for potent medicinal compounds.
That's a great way to put it.
Now, what about the traditional winter go-to citrus? Oranges, grapefruits. Is the myth true? Do they actually prevent colds?
The million-dollar question. This is probably the most pervasive myth we have to tackle.
Okay, hit me with it.
While citrus fruits are absolutely vital, seriously, consuming just one orange daily pretty much meets your fruit. Vitamin C needs rigorous clinical research, simply does not support the idea that they prevent colds.
Really? So all those years of chugging orange juice.
Their true value is systemic, not preventative in that direct way. Vitamin C is an essential cofactor in the body's process of producing white blood cells.
Our immune soldiers.
Exactly. The specialized immune cells responsible for identifying and attacking viruses and bacteria. So vitamin C helps make sure your troops are fully equipped and ready for the fight.
But it doesn't necessarily stop the initial skirmish from happening.
Precisely. Think of it as equipping your army, not building a wall. And don't overlook other high-benefit, high-C fruits. Kiwis are great. Cranberries.
Oh, cranberries are very wintry.
They are. And guavas, if you can find them. Guavas are notable because they offer a really comprehensive profile. Fiber, potassium, folate, and this stuff called pectin.
Pectin, like in jam.
Sort of, yeah. It's a type of fiber, and it's particularly fantastic because it assists in digestion and actively fights inflammation. So it ties into that gut immunity axis we need to discuss next.
Okay, this next part is where the evidence gets surprisingly counterintuitive for a lot of people, especially those of us, myself included sometimes, who prioritize fresh above everything else.
Right. The question is, when local, fresh produce options dwindle in the dead of winter, how do you maximize your nutritional intake?
And the report points very clearly towards the strategic use of frozen vegetables.
This is a crucial strategy, especially, again, for people in northern latitudes. There's this cultural bias, isn't there, that frozen food is somehow nutritionally inferior.
Definitely. Processed, less healthy.
But the data actually confirms there is frequently no significant difference in nutrient density between fresh and frozen.
No significant difference.
Sometimes, depending on the nutrient and the vegetable, relying on frozen produce can actually be nutritionally superior to those fresh options that have traveled thousands of miles.
Okay, hang on. How can a bag of frozen broccoli be potentially better than the fresh broccoli in the supermarket that, flew in from California or Mexico?
It all comes down to minimizing nutrient degradation. As soon as fresh produce is harvested, it starts losing nutrients. Enzymes get to work, light exposure, heat.
Okay.
So for produce that travels across continents, there's a significant time delay, often weeks before it actually reaches your plate. During that transit and storage time, sensitive nutrients like vitamin C, riboflavin, which is B2, and vitamin E can degrade substantially.
So the critical difference is timing.
Precisely. Produce that's destined for freezing is often flash processed almost immediately, sometimes within hours of being harvested.
When it's at its peak ripeness and nutrient level.
Exactly. The flash freezing process essentially puts nutrient degradation on pause. It locks in the vitamin C content, for example, far more effectively than days or weeks sitting in a refrigerated truck or on a shelf.
Wow, that turns the freezer aisle into like a powerful and consistent ally for winter wellness, not just a backup.
It absolutely should be seen that way, a reliable source of peak season nutrients available year-round.
That's a powerful validation for making friends with the freezer aisle. But we need a caveat here, right?
Yeah.
What about other preserved options, like canned vegetables?
Ah, yes. Good point. Frozen is overwhelmingly preferable to canned goods.
Why is that?
Well, the canning process requires high heat, which significantly reduces the presence of heat-sensitive vitamins, especially vitamin C and B.
Okay, so nutrient loss is one factor.
And the other big one is additives. Canned goods frequently contain high levels of added sodium, sometimes sugar too, which actively undermine your overall immune goals, especially for, say, older adults who might be managing hypertension or inflammation already.
Right, so frozen wins over canned, generally speaking.
Okay, so we've talked about what goes on the plate. Now let's move from the plate to the body's fundamental mechanics. We have to talk about the gut.
The gut. This really is the body's frontline defense, isn't it? And it's a connection I think too many people overlook when they think about just, winter immunity.
The statistics make it absolutely impossible to ignore. A remarkable 70% of the body's immune cells actually reside in the digestive tract.
70%, that's huge.
It is, specifically in what's called the gut-associated lymphoid tissue, or GALT. This means your gut health isn't just supplemental to immunity, it is absolutely foundational for a robust defense against pathogens.
Including those respiratory viruses that just dominate the cold season.
Exactly. So if the gut microbiome is kind of our central defense headquarters, what happens in winter that directly compromises that defense?
Yeah, what are we doing wrong?
Well, often unconsciously, we adopt habits that work against the microbiome. We tend to reduce physical activity, right? It's cold outside.
Yep, hibernate mode kicks in.
Which slows down gut motility. And we often decrease our consumption of fresh, high-fiber foods, maybe eating heavier, less fibrous meals.
Leads to a sluggish system.
Exactly. A less diverse, sluggish gut directly undermines the immune response. It reduces the necessary communication between the microbiome itself and all those immune cells housed right there in the gut lining.
What's truly fascinating, though, is the report's deep dive in something called the gut-lung connection. This suggests it's not just about local gut defense, it's systemic protection, specifically for our most vulnerable respiratory systems.
This connection is scientifically proven now, and it's absolutely critical for fighting respiratory infections. Here's how it works. When our beneficial gut bacteria ferment high-fiber foods, the prebiotics we'll talk about, they produce essential metabolites.
Metabolites.
Yeah, byproducts. Specifically things called short-chain fatty acids, or SCFAs. Think butyrate, acetate, propionate.
Okay, SCFAs. And what do they do?
These SCFAs enter our circulation, they travel throughout the body, and when they reach the lungs,
Yes, what happens?
they promote the production of key immune proteins, specifically type 1 interferons.
Interferons. I know those are important for fighting viruses.
Absolutely essential. They're among the body's first responders. They literally interfere directly with viral replication inside our cells.
Wow. So basically, the health of your gut biome is literally modulating the readiness of your lung tissue to fight off a cold or flu virus.
That's exactly it. If your gut is compromised, your lungs are measurably less prepared for that viral assault. It's a direct link.
Okay, so if the gut is the commander-in-chief of our immune system, what's specific dietary strategy do we need to implement to really fuel it properly in winter? You mentioned prebiotics.
Right. We need both the live cultures themselves, the probiotics, and the fuel they consume the prebiotics. It's a two-part strategy.
You have the workers and their food.
Exactly. So probiotics, the live beneficial cultures, help rebalance and diversify the microbiome. For winter, great sources include fermented foods. Think yogurt, kefir.
Kimchi, sauerkraut.
Yes, kimchi, sauerkraut are excellent. And also wonderfully warming and naturally probiotic-rich miso soup. A fantastic winter choice.
Miso soup. Okay,
Yeah.
Love that. And the prebiotics, the non-digestible fibers that are basically the food for those good bacteria. Where do we find the best winter sources?
These are the essential fuel. They drive that SCFA production we just talked about. You want to look for whole grains like oats and barley. Think porridge, stews with barley.
Comfort food that works for you.
Totally. Also, the allium family, garlic, onions, leeks, they are exceptionally rich in fructans, which are powerful prebiotics.
So lots of flavor and gut benefits.
Absolutely. Bananas and asparagus are also excellent sources, even if asparagus feels less wintry. The key here is consistency. You have to feed the good bacteria daily for them to thrive and produce those crucial antiviral signals.
Daily feeding. Got it. And a simple, but maybe often overlooked aspect is hydration, right? We tend to drink less water when it's cold.
We really do. We don't feel as thirsty. But proper hydration is critical for keeping the digestive system running smoothly, reducing constipation and aiding circulation overall.
Which can get sluggish in the cold, too.
Yeah, it can. So warm foods like broth-based soups and stews are just a brilliant way to simultaneously ingest fluids, soothe the stomach, promote better gut function, and tie into those overall winter hydration needs without just forcing yourself to drink cold water.
Okay, we've established the dietary foundation, that first pillar. Now we move to what the report identifies as the single most essential supplemental intervention, vitamin D.
Yes. And this is where geographical context basically becomes destiny. The mechanism here is pretty much non-negotiable for a huge portion of the population.
It truly is a non-negotiable intervention, isn't it? The primary source of vitamin D is synthesis through our skin when it's exposed to ultraviolet UVB sunlight.
Right, and in northern U.S. cities, roughly north of the 37th parallel, think Atlanta, Georgia, across to San Francisco, and pretty much everything above that line, sunlight synthesis becomes essentially impossible during the winter months.
Why is that exactly? Is it just about cloud cover or us being indoors more?
Those are factors, but it's fundamentally about the Earth's seasonal tilt. This dictates the angle of the sun in the sky, what scientists call the solar zenith angle.
Okay.
In winter, in those northern latitudes, the sun is so low on the horizon that the Earth's atmosphere effectively filters out most of the specific UVD wavelength needed for vitamin D synthesis.
So even on a clear, sunny winter day,
Even if you stood outside naked at noon, which I don't recommend, you likely wouldn't generate enough vitamin D. Then you add the fact that we are bundled in protective clothing and spending the vast majority of our time indoors.
and the synthesis mechanism just grinds to a complete halt.
Pretty much, yeah. And this lack of solar exposure creates an epidemic of deficiency that simply cannot be fixed by diet alone. Food sources of vitamin D are actually quite scarce. Fatty fish, some fortified foods, but not enough.
So what does the data tell us about the scale of this problem? You use the word epidemic.
It really is endemic in those regions. We're talking about hypovitaminosis D, which is clinically defined as serum levels below 20 nanograms per milliliter, NGML.
Okay, below 20 AGML is deficient.
Correct. And clinical data shows this affects around 38% of men and 40% of women across the U.S. during the winter season.
Wow, that's nearly 4 out of 10 people.
Yes. And in specific northern regions, it's even worse. Nearly half the population may have insufficient levels, with potentially up to 25%, 1 in 4, being classified as clinically deficient. It is arguably the single most significant nutritional deficit facing northern populations in winter.
And when vitamin D levels plummet like that, the impact isn't just about bone health, which is what most people think of, right? Rickets or osteoporosis.
No, it's far beyond that. The impact is profound and systemic. It touches nearly every system in the body. It's much more serious than just feeling a bit low or having the winter blues, although it contributes to that too.
So what are the major consequences?
Well, lower bone density is the classic outcome, yes. But functionally, we see severely compromised immune function. Vitamin D is essential for activating T cells efficiently, those critical killer cells in our immune army.
So low D means a weaker immune response.
Yeah, definitely. Furthermore, deficiencies are strongly linked to an increased risk for type 2 diabetes, significantly higher cardiovascular mortality rates.
Heart disease, really?
Yes, and clear links to increased risk and severity of cognitive impairment as well. We have to remember vitamin D isn't just a vitamin. It acts like a crucial hormone precursor. It helps regulate hundreds of genetic functions throughout the body.
A master switch, almost.
In many ways, yes. And certain groups are at even higher risk, which intensifies the need for proactive intervention.
Who should be particularly aware?
Well, the elderly, for one. Their skin simply produces less vitamin D from sunlight as they age due to natural physiological changes.
Okay, older adults. Who else?
Pregnant or nursing women have higher needs, so deficiency is a concern. And critically, people of color.
Why specifically people of color?
Melanin, the pigment that gives skin its color, is a fantastic natural sunscreen. It's protective against sun damage. But when the sun is already weak in winter, that protective layer acts like a natural filter.
Blocking the already scarce UVB rays.
Exactly. It allows only a fraction of the necessary UVB rays to penetrate the skin, drastically reducing vitamin D synthesis for people with darker skin tones, even during brief moments of winter sun exposure they might get.
Okay, that's really important to highlight. So given all this, the lack of sun, the widespread deficiency, the serious consequences, what is the clear, actionable recommendation for anyone residing in or exposed to northern winters? Do we wait until we feel run down, or is this mandatory prevention?
This is absolutely a mandatory prophylactic recommendation. Prevention is key. Experts strongly suggest a daily intake of between 1,000 and 2,000 international units, IU, per day.
1,000 to 2,000 IU daily.
Yes, specifically vitamin D3, which is the form our body makes from sun and is generally considered the most effective form for raising blood levels. This is to maintain adequate levels throughout the winter.
And timing is crucial, you said.
Absolutely crucial. You need to understand the timeline. Once a deficiency actually occurs, once your levels drop below that 20 ng/ml mark, or even into the insufficient range below 30, it can take several months of higher dose therapy, often medically supervised, to correct it.
So starting supplementation in the fall is key.
Yes. Preventative, sustained dosing starting in the fall is the way to avoid those serious systemic consequences altogether. Don't wait until you're already deficient midwinter.
All right, now we need to shift gears a bit. Let's talk about the common cold and flu remedies, the things people instinctively rush out to buy when they feel that first tickle in their throat.
Ah, yes, the immune boosters. This
Yeah.
is where we really need to apply critical thinking and pay close attention to dosage, because not all boosters are created equal.
And some come with significant risks, as the report highlights. Let's start with vitamin C.
Okay, vitamin C. While it is unequivocally essential for the function of immune cells we established earlier, it helps produce white blood cells, right?
Right, equips the army.
The pervasive belief, though, that high-dose supplementation reliably prevents infections, well, that's largely unsupported by rigorous, double-blind clinical research.
So the decades-old tradition of megadosing vitamin C, taking grams of it at the first sign of a cold, is mostly,
Right.
what? Well-intentioned, but scientifically marginal.
That's a fair assessment. Based on the solid clinical evidence, it's fair to say vitamin C is perhaps the most overhyped winter supplement for prevention.
What does the actual data show in terms of benefits?
It shows only marginal benefits when you look at high-dose supplementation, say 500 milligrams or even a gram daily, specifically for prevention or duration. The data indicates maybe a minor risk reduction for actually catching a cold, something around 8.4%.
That's not huge.
No. And it might shorten the duration of a cold, but only by very small average, like 0.11 days. Basically a couple of hours.
It's barely noticeable for most people.
Pretty much. The focus really must remain on getting vitamin C consistently from a sustained, rich diet from whole foods. Acute supplementation is purely a conditional intervention, offering maybe slight symptom mitigation, but not true prevention in the way people hope.
Okay, that brings us to zinc, another popular one. Zinc is a mineral that is crucial for acute immune support, right? It helps block the replication of certain viruses, speeds wound healing.
It absolutely is crucial, yes. But, and this is a huge but, its therapeutic use comes with a hard, non-negotiable safety constraint. This is truly the danger zone of supplementation if misused.
Okay, spell it out for us. What's the limit?
Zinc is essential, but its use as a supplement, especially high dose, must be strictly managed and generally temporary. The National Institutes of Health, NIH, has established the tolerable upper intake level, UL, the absolute upper limit of daily intake for adults aged 19 and older at 40 milligrams emagene per day.
40 milligrams, 4 in a row.
Correct. And you cannot treat this limit casually. The severe risks associated with exceeding it are cumulative and systemic.
The report details some really severe risks from ignoring that limit, especially with chronic high intake. We're not just talking about a mild stomachache here, are we?
Not at all. What happens if someone consistently takes, say, 150 milligram to 450 milligrams a day, which some people might do thinking more is better for immunity?
Yeah, what are the consequences?
The risks are severe, genuinely counterintuitive, and potentially devastating neurologically. The critical issue is a phenomenon called mineral antagonism.
Mineral antagonism.
Yes, zinc and copper compete for the same absorption pathways in our gut. When you flood the system with excessive zinc, it essentially bullies copper out of the way. It forces the displacement of copper from the body's essential metalloproteins enzymes that need copper to function.
And copper is important.
Absolutely vital. It's crucial for energy production, for iron metabolism, and especially for neurological function.
So taking too much zinc, thinking you're boosting your health, actually causes neurological damage by kicking out another crucial nutrient.
That is precisely what happens. The secondary copper deficiency induced by chronic high zinc intake leads to severe neurological issues. This can include myelopathy, actual damage to the insulating sheath around nerve fibers in the spinal cord.
What does that look like clinically?
It manifests as numbness, tingling, weakness, difficulty walking primarily in the arms and legs. It can mimic other serious neurological conditions.
That's terrifying.
It is. Furthermore, chronic high zinc intake also impairs iron function, contributing to anemia. And perhaps most ironically, it ultimately reduces overall immune function because copper itself is necessary for proper immune cell signaling and function.
Wow. So it compromises the very system you were trying to protect in the first place.
Exactly. It completely backfires. This underscores why zinc is a conditional supplement, best used short-term for acute symptoms, if at all, and why strict adherence to that 40 milligram daily upper limit from all sources, food and supplements combined, is absolutely critical.
Okay, so winter wellness isn't just about avoiding the flu or managing supplements correctly. It's also very much about avoiding that deep, persistent winter malaise, that feeling of blah, or even clinical SAD.
Absolutely. And beyond vitamin D, which we know is crucial for mood and light therapy, there are nutritional components that support our neurochemistry, which are vital and often overlooked.
So how do we eat our way to a better winter mood, potentially?
Well, to combat those seasonal blues, we really need to focus on optimizing serotonin production. Serotonin is that key mood-stimulating chemical, right?
The happy chemical.
Kind of, yeah. So dietary strategies should involve increasing foods rich in tryptophan. Tryptophan is the amino acid precursor, the building block for serotonin.
Where do we find tryptophan?
Think lean protein sources. Poultry like turkey and chicken, cold water fish like salmon and mackerel, beans, lentils, even yogurt.
Okay, protein sources. What about less obvious neurological supporters?
We need to really up our antioxidant intake. Vitamin C, E, and beta-carotene again, these help protect the brain itself.
How do antioxidants protect the brain?
They help shield neural tissue against oxidative stress and free radical damage. There's increasing evidence linking that kind of damage to the development and persistence of depression.
Interesting. Any specific foods that are mood all-stars?
Well, the humble banana is actually an excellent mood supporter. It supplies some tryptophan, yes, but also natural carbohydrates, which help tryptophan cross the blood-brain barrier, and magnesium, which is known to help reduce anxiety and improve sleep quality. A nice little package.
Bananas for the blues.
Yeah.
Got it. Now, winter fatigue. That pervasive feeling of just having to drag yourself through the day, is that just SAD or is there a specific nutritional link there too?
That fatigue and sometimes an increased sensitivity to feeling cold can definitely signal deficiencies in B vitamins, particularly B12 and folate, which is B9.
B12 and folate. Why are they so important?
These B vitamins are absolutely indispensable cofactors for neurological function, for mood regulation, and for the efficient conversion of food into usable energy, our basic metabolism.
And B12 deficiency is a risk for certain groups.
It's a very real winter risk, especially for those who restrict meat, dairy, or eggs, as those are the primary dietary sources. Vegetarians and vegans need to be particularly mindful of B12 intake or supplementation.
Good point. And how do omega-3 fatty acids fit into this picture of combating winter malaise and fatigue?
Omega-3s are foundational fats for brain structure and function. Specifically, DHA, one of the main omega-3s, is crucial for maintaining the fluidity of our brain cell membranes.
Cell fluidity.
Yeah, it helps them communicate effectively. It facilitates synaptic plasticity, basically, how our brain cells connect, talk to each other, and adapt.
So better brain communication.
Right. And following a pattern rich in omega-3s, like the Mediterranean diet with lots of fatty fish, or considering supplementation, is really crucial for stabilizing mood, improving cognition, and potentially countering some of those depressive effects we often see when sunlight exposure drops dramatically.
Let's talk about energy demands. The physiological demands of winter are actually greater than many people realize, aren't they? Particularly the increased calorie burn just to stay warm.
That's exactly right. Your body basically acts like a furnace in a blizzard. It has to shovel significantly more fuel, more calories, just to maintain its core temperature when it's cold.
How much more are we talking?
Studies have shown that our basal metabolic rate and overall caloric expenditure can increase by as much as 34% during sustained cold exposure compared to doing the same activities in moderate weather.
34%, that's substantial.
It is. The body has to expend significant energy simply on non-shivering thermogenesis, just generating heat internally to stay warm.
So our energy strategy needs to reflect that increased demand, but ideally without causing the inevitable sugar crash that quick fixes like candy bars lead to.
Absolutely. Complex carbohydrates are the preferred fuel source here. Think whole grains like oats, brown rice, quinoa, slow-digesting vegetables like sweet potatoes, winter squash.
The things we talked about earlier.
Exactly. They release energy slowly and steadily. This sustains warmth internally, maintains energy levels across those long, dark afternoons, and crucially helps you avoid those blood sugar spikes and subsequent energy slumps that are so common in low sun environments.
Makes sense. Feed the furnace steadily. And finally, let's touch on hydration again. It might seem obvious, but it really is often neglected in the cold because we just don't feel the same thirst mechanism as we do in summer heat.
We don't. But proper hydration remains absolutely critical. It aids circulation, which, as we said, can be sluggish in cold temperatures. It supports digestion, joint performance. Everything works better when hydrated.
So how do we encourage fluid intake when cold water just isn't appealing?
We strongly recommend warm alternatives. They're soothing, appealing, and count towards your fluid goals. Think those lovely broth-based soups again, warm milk, decaffeinated teas or coffees. Anything warm and liquid helps.
Okay, before we synthesize our blueprint, let's quickly tackle a couple of major myths that persist and reiterate the ultimate danger: toxicity from improper supplementation. First, the old classic, cold air makes you sick.
Medically inaccurate. Cooler temperatures themselves do not cause illness. Colds and flu are caused by viruses, predominantly the rhinovirus for colds.
Which thrives indoors where people cluster together more in winter.
Precisely. The exposure to cold air itself is not the pathogen. It might slightly stress the system, but it doesn't cause the infection.
Right, and the other old adage, starve a fever, feed a cold. Any truth to that?
Also incorrect and potentially harmful. Adequate nourishment and constant hydration are essential components for recovery from both colds and fevers.
Why is starving a fever bad?
Undernourishing the body during any illness, especially one involving fever which increases metabolic rate, only hinders the immune system's ability to mount a strong, rapid response. Your body needs fuel and fluids to fight effectively.
Good to clarify. Okay, let's end this section with a necessary warning, recapping the risks of excessive supplementation, starting with vitamin D, which we said was essential but can be overdone.
Yes. Vitamin D toxicity, known as hypervitaminosis D, while rare, is serious. It usually results from massive oversupplementation, often without professional guidance or testing.
And what does it cause?
It primarily causes hypercalcemia, a toxic buildup of calcium in the blood, because vitamin D regulates calcium absorption. This can lead to symptoms like weakness, confusion, frequent urination, bone pain, and potentially the formation of painful kidney stones.
So more is definitely not better with vitamin D. Needs careful dosing.
Absolutely. Testing is key, as we'll discuss.
And let's just reiterate the zinc danger zone one more time. Chronic zinc intake above that 40 milligram a day, tolerable upper limit, is associated with what catastrophic systemic failure?
Copper deficiency, resulting from that mineral antagonism we discussed. This leads to potentially severe and sometimes irreversible neurological damage, impairs iron function causing anemia, and paradoxically compromises the immune system itself. This is why self-dosing high levels of essential minerals without understanding the interactions is highly risky.
Okay, this has been incredibly comprehensive. This deep dive has delivered a really clear winter wellness blueprint based entirely on the sources provided. To synthesize our findings, it feels like the robust blueprint hinges on two foundational pillars.
I think that's right.
One, leveraging those fibrous, antioxidant-rich whole foods, remembering to utilize the flash-frozen advantage when fresh local options are scarce to consistently fuel and cultivate our gut immunity.
Absolutely, that's the foundation. And pillar two is that mandatory prophylactic vitamin D supplementation, aiming for 1,000 to 2,000 IU per day of D3 for pretty much anyone residing in northern regions to counteract that geographically induced deficiency epidemic.
We also emphasized the need for tailored strategies, didn't we? Supporting neurochemistry, assessing mood and energy through things like B12, folate, and omega-3 intake.
And exercising extreme caution, really knowing the risks, with potentially high-risk supplements like zinc, adhering strictly to those upper limits.
Now, this evidence-based knowledge is a powerful start, but the ultimate step in safety and precision, especially with supplementation, often requires expert consultation, doesn't it?
It really does. Individuals should always seek professional help for persistent issues, especially things like chronic fatigue or ongoing depressive symptoms that don't resolve. Don't just assume it's winter.
And particularly for deficiency correction.
Yes. Clinical deficiency, particularly of vitamin D, often requires precise, medically supervised correction with higher doses initially. The most accurate way to dose vitamin D effectively and prevent the risks associated with hypervitaminosis is actually to get tested.
What kind of test?
Ask your doctor for a serum vitamin D test, specifically the 25-hydroxyvitamin D test, often written as 25-OHD. This clinical blood test takes all the guesswork out of dosing. It ensures you get exactly what your body needs without accidentally crossing into that danger zone.
Personalization through testing. Makes sense.
Okay, that brings us to our final provocative thought for you, the listener, to carry forward from this deep dive.
We've seen firsthand today, based on the evidence, how taking something like 150 milligrams of zinc with the intention to boost health can actually cause severe neurological damage and fundamentally compromise immunity.
It forces a critical reevaluation, doesn't it, of our whole approach to preventative care sometimes.
So the question for you is, given these severe and often counterintuitive risks of excess, where more is not just unhelpful, but actively harmful, how do you redefine preventative health for yourself? How do you balance that understandable desire for a strong boost with the absolute necessity of precise, evidence-based dosing?
Critical thinking, guided by reliable data, truly is the ultimate winter defense strategy.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into strategic winter wellness. We genuinely hope this knowledge blueprint empowers you to stay well, energized, and maybe even a little happier through the colder months ahead.
If you found this information valuable and you want more knowledge shortcuts like this, synthesizing complex topics into actionable insights, make sure you subscribe to the channel right now so you don't miss out.
We appreciate you listening, and we'll see you on the next deep dive.